Good afternoon, everybody. Today I got to walk into our press briefing room without a mask, and it feels wonderful. I'm fully vaccinated. I hope that you are. If you're not fully vaccinated yet, please get vaccinated. It's so easy to do at your local pharmacy, at Ball Arena, Pepsi Center, at Dick's Sporting Goods, at the Ranch in Loveland, your local hospital or community health clinic. It's incredibly easy to do, and the reward is you feel safe and you no longer need to wear a mask. This has been a long, hard year and a half for Coloradans. And while it ain't over yet, we're almost there. And especially for those who've been vaccinated, you have a high degree of safety now. You know, one of the reasons that our state embraced mask wearing early on is that masks are about 50% effective in reducing the spread of the virus. Well, that's a poor man's vaccine. Turns out the vaccine is 95% effective at preventing the virus, and that really understates how amazing this vaccine is, all three of them. It's not only 95% effective at preventing the virus, but even the 5% or so of people who get it anyway usually have no symptoms or very minor symptoms, versus a mask, which is 50% effective, but if you get it, your case is just as bad as if you weren't wearing a mask. The mask doesn't make your case of coronavirus any better, but the vaccine does. So we are thrilled with the recent CDC guidance, and I want to talk about what this means for Colorado and how it's being operationalized. First, of course, I just want to take a moment to remember the 6,500 plus Coloradans who've died from coronavirus in the last year and a half. And to their families, to their friends, I want to express my condolences. I've lost two friends to this virus. I've had others that suffered a long haul and difficult time in the hospital and for the recovery. And I know that there are not too many Coloradans that are untouched by this virus. It's affected somebody that you've known, that you've loved, hopefully with a mild case, but in many cases with a severe case. And some, of course, have lost their loved ones. Just yesterday, we broke the threshold of 5 million vaccines in Colorado. We opened it up to everybody 12 and up. There's lots of excited parents to protect their 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds before summer and next school year. And any parent who wants to can take your kid to any one of those sites or pharmacies to get your 12 and up kid vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. It's widely available. And because of this progress, because of the work we've done, we've been in the top 10 or 15 states for vaccination rates. We continue to be. Because of this work, we are able to really embrace this science-based judgment by the CDC, which we agree with, that we have now really reached a threshold where not enough people are vaccinated to end the pandemic, but enough people are vaccinated where especially those who are vaccinated no longer need to wear masks. So here's what we're doing. We are going from mask wearing requirements to mask wearing suggestions and guidance, meaning if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask at all. If you're not vaccinated yet, we do suggest, not order, but suggest that you continue to wear a mask in indoor settings around others, but even more importantly, get vaccinated, because even if you are wearing that mask, it's only 50% effective. Please get vaccinated. Don't keep your status as unvaccinated out there for very long. Some of you are only unvaccinated because you're in between the first and second vaccination. You'll get your second one on time. 2 weeks after that, you'll be vaccinated. There are going to be a few really structured situations where we require masks unless people can demonstrate that they're vaccinated. That includes prisons and jails, emergency medical and healthcare settings, school and child care settings, congregate care facilities. Again, it will be up to those businesses how they want to do that in the case of a school. But for instance, a teacher who's fully vaccinated and is able to demonstrate that will no longer need to wear a mask in class. And 16 and 17 and 18-year-old students who are vaccinated will not need to wear a mask in class. You can show their faces these last few weeks of school. Remember, there aren't any 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds that are fully vaccinated yet because that just opened up and many of them just got their first shot. Others are getting their first shot in the coming days. But for 16, 17, 18-year-olds in high school that are vaccinated, your school may decide they're keeping the mask requirement, or they may decide that as long as you're vaccinated, you can take it off. Same with teachers. If you're fully vaccinated and your school allows it, then you will no longer need to use a mask for these final few weeks of the school year. It will be your choice. You can continue to wear a mask if you prefer to build on that safety. Here's something very important. Many Colorado businesses and managers of businesses that offer services to the public are going to continue to require masks to enter. And we're courteous and we're friendly as Coloradans. So I'm going to bring my mask with me in my pocket. And when asked, of course, as a matter of respect, I'll put it on. And there will be many businesses that continue to do that. Perhaps your local grocery store for the next few weeks, perhaps other businesses that are frequented by others. We are also renewing the public health order around events of 500 people and up through June 1st. So both this mask updated guidance and the public health order affecting events with 500 people and up that are indoors will be in effect until June 1st, 2 weeks. I expect that this will be one of the final, if not the final, phase-outs of these mechanisms. I expect that the public health order, barring a, God forbid, barring an increase in COVID rates, as long as we continue to be flat or down, the public health order will go away June 1st, meaning there will no longer be any state-level restrictions on events for 500 people or more. And keep in mind that those kinds of events have been occurring the last few weeks, but it's just under health guidance. In addition, it's important that we all wear a mask when asked and where required by a local business. They're trying to keep their own workers safe. We respect that. Perhaps not all of them have the chance to be fully vaccinated yet. Perhaps some are still waiting between their first and second. So when asked if in your workplace requires it, please, go ahead and honor that. We respect others, and we don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable here in our state of Colorado. This is certainly a big step. We've really reached a level of immunity where the pandemic isn't over, but where we are safer. And I want people who are unvaccinated who are watching this, again, just to recognize that a lot of these public health protections that were designed to protect you, like others wearing masks, like limitations on gathering, are going away today or June 1st, very shortly. And that should be another reason to get vaccinated right away. You can't count on everybody wearing masks forever. You can't count on avoiding large public indoor gatherings forever. So get vaccinated today. It's really important that you don't put it off, because the world and Colorado, America are rapidly returning to the way of life that we love. And for you to do that, you can no longer use as a crutch these mask-wearing protections that we have. So it's really time to get vaccinated. Couldn't be easier. We're doing workplace vaccinations today. I was at UPS. And they're doing at their several dozen sites across the state. They're doing clinics in the parking lot. We are happy to work with any company to do that. On-site vaccinations, companies have to offer 4 hours of paid time for you to do that. And guess what? It doesn't take 4 hours. It takes 15 minutes. So you can go get a coffee or something else for those other 3.5 hours. It's also very easy for you to do whenever you like. We have the large centers at Dick's Sporting Goods in Adams County, the Ranch in Loveland, Ball Arena, and of course your local pharmacy, Safeway, CVS. Safeway's offering 10% off for people who get vaccinated on site on groceries up to $200. So that's an easy way to save $20 right there by getting vaccinated. And this vaccine is a triumph of modern science, all three. And our country and leading health experts have dedicated so much work and research towards bringing this to us. We're talking about that light of the end of the tunnel for so long. For those of us who are vaccinated, that light has arrived. And if you're not vaccinated yet, make a plan today to get protected. You're just a few weeks away from crossing that final finish line. So please, I encourage all my fellow Coloradans to get your vaccine as soon as you can. If you've been vaccinated, be polite, carry your mask. If you need to put it on if they're required by a local site. If you haven't been vaccinated yet, we advise that you should continue to wear a mask. The virus is still very prevalent in our community, but most importantly, get vaccinated, because the mask is only 50% effective. The vaccine is 95% plus effective, very close to 100% effective at preventing fatal cases and severe hospitalizations, which is very, very, very good news. Thank you all. It's an exciting day. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the pandemic. Today we are not celebrating the end of the pandemic, but we're celebrating an important milestone. A milestone that really turns over that individual responsibility of mask wearing to the people of Colorado. And I know that those who remain unvaccinated will make the right choice to wear a mask, and of course, the even more important choice to get protected as quickly as possible. With that, we'll take some questions.
Governor, what do you think this, or what do you hope this might do for herd immunity and the efforts to get to that level? Will this encourage more people who are unvaccinated to get vaccinated? Is that your hope?
Yeah. Well, I think on the margins it will encourage more people to get vaccinated. There's so many reasons to get vaccinated. And what our polling and research shows is that there are more people that plan to get vaccinated but just haven't done it yet, meaning we're at about 56 or 57% have gotten their first dose, not fully vaccinated. We expect that somewhere around 75 to 80% of Coloradans want it based on being asked that question. So that means that we have 25, 30% more people who it needs to be convenient for, it needs to be easy for. I do think today's announcement will provide a bit more of an impetus to do that, right? In their minds, they thought, I'll get it, maybe I'll get it in July, maybe I'll get it in August. But I think this might move up that schedule for some folks who are planning to get the vaccine but just haven't made the concrete plan to do that yet.
Oh, Governor Polis, this is Vinny Delchute. I said Bloomberg News in Denver. What do you have to say about the progression of federal pandemic aid from President Trump to President Biden? States had to go it alone at the start to get masks and PPE. Thank you very much, sir.
You're talking about the physical purchase of masks, Vinny, when we had the shortages? Vinny? I think that's I think that's what he was saying. There was a free-for-all in those first few months. You might remember last March, April, May. There was chaos in the international supply chain. We had to take very extreme measures to protect the integrity of our healthcare system here in Colorado and across the country because there was no way to purchase masks and gloves and gowns. And we risked not having any hospital workforce to take care of those who were infected. This virus has a much higher fatality rate if we don't have oxygen and treatment available. Most people will recover from this virus. Oxygen now, of course, thankfully, steroids and other treatments are now first-line treatments, which have increased the survivor rate even further. But when your hospitals are overwhelmed and you don't have the equipment or the PPE, the fatality rate can be significantly higher, several times higher for this virus. I think getting to where we are today, I think we're thrilled to have science and evidence-based information coming out of the CDC. We've largely adopted CDC guidelines in our state. We always look at them with a critical eye and say, does the science back this up? But I think that this is a good step. I applaud it. If you're vaccinated, there's no particular reason that you need to wear a mask, and the evidence backs that up. Again, if you're vaccinated and you want to take extreme precautions, you can continue to wear a mask. There's no law or order that you shouldn't. But 95% is greater than 50%. I wasn't a great math student, but I do know that. And I feel very comfortable myself personally with the 95% plus efficacy of the vaccines. And I say plus because, again, much of that additional 5% are very mild or asymptomatic cases if you're vaccinated versus the mask, which can prevent 50% of cases, but then those who are infected have every bit as severe a case as they would have if they were not wearing a mask.
Governor, how do you avoid confusion for the businesses, the bars, the restaurants, the breweries? It seems like the onus is still on them to keep track of who is vaccinated, who's unvaccinated.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to see businesses adopting different models. It really depends on what their customers want. There's some customers that will feel more comfortable with the masked experience and want them to do that. There's other businesses where they've been ready to get rid of the mask for weeks or months. And so I think there's room for all of that in a Colorado for all. We're a diverse state, and different people have different preferences, and that's fully, you're going to see them running the gamut. I think in practice, grocery stores, clubs, many of them will either say we still have a mask wearing requirement. They can kind of do anything along this continuum. They can say we still have a mask wearing requirement. We don't have a mask wearing requirement, and we have an honor system, or they can do some kind of check if they want to. But those are kind of the major categories. They might have different hours. We're doing masked hour, 7 to 9, unmasked 9 after. I think there's enough Coloradans with different preferences that the market will support a variety of approaches to caution, just as it has all along. I think the businesses that have shown 5-star certification, that they go the extra step, have benefited because they have more customers that are willing to go out there and spend time there. But there's plenty of businesses that haven't done that, and other customers are comfortable in that environment as well. Let me just add from the state's perspective, we don't run a lot of consumer-facing businesses, but we do the DMV. And for the DMV, for our own employees of the DMV, they will be able to be maskless if they are vaccinated. And for the next 2 weeks, we will continue to require that customers of the DMV are masked.
Hello, Governor. Jesús Carrasquel from Noticias Univisión Colorado. Gobernador en español, ¿usted va a seguir las nuevas guías de los CDC sobre el uso de tapabocas en personas 100% vacunadas? Y además, ¿cómo podrán las empresas y negocios comprobar que alguien ya está completamente vacunado?
Sí. Es cualquier regla prefería el negocio. Depende de cómo el negocio lo quiera enforzar. Pueden pedir la tarjeta de vacuna como comprobante. Puede ser su sistema de tomándole la palabra a las personas. O puede requerir que todos los clientes usan tapabocas. Todas las personas pueden hacer cualquier cosa.
Hey, Governor, this is Gabrielle from Fox 31. I know you keep up with baseball, so I'm sure you saw that 8 Yankees players tested positive for COVID after being vaccinated. Does the state have an updated number of breakthrough cases here in Colorado, and is that a concern as we lift mask restrictions?
We do have that number. I don't have it in front of me, so of course we'll have our team follow up with you. We track the breakthroughs, and yes, the Yankees have 8 cases, and 7 of them were completely non-symptomatic, and so that is consistent with the data around people who are vaccinated. If they were not vaccinated, it likely would have been only 2 or 3 that were asymptomatic. Probably 4 or 5 or 6 would have been quite ill. So that is repeat announcement. What announcement? Oh, you want me to start again? Okay, let me do that after this. So, where we are, the Yankees. 8 cases, 7 asymptomatic. Poor Phil Nevin, briefly sick. Now he's better. 1 out of 8 is mild symptoms. 7 no symptoms. That is consistent with people who are vaccinated. If they were not vaccinated, you likely would have had 4 or 5 out of 8 that were quite ill. Maybe 2 or 3 asymptomatic. So that's you can extrapolate that across the entire population. I can't remember exactly where we were going with that question, besides talking about the Yankees. But yes, when you're vaccinated, you're much more likely to have a mild or asymptomatic case. We're going to start again. I'm going to do the intro again part, I guess, so we get a clean read on it, and then we'll go back to questions. We have some very exciting news today. We are adapting our Colorado rules to the new CDC regulations. You'll see that I didn't enter the room with a mask. I'm proudly fully vaccinated. I'm very grateful at the triumph of modern science of protecting me from this virus through the highly effective vaccination. I happen to have the Moderna vaccination. And we are moving the state requirement around mask wearing to state guidance around mask wearing, except in a few settings that can be monitored. What does that mean? It means that generally, if you're vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. Now, you should bring a mask with you. Why? Because some companies require it, many stores require it, and we're courteous, we're nice to our neighbors, and we want to inspire confidence of everybody in our health precautions that we're taking. So, of course, when asked, I'll put one on. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, and I hope you do the same thing. But if you are vaccinated, you do not need to wear a mask because masks are only 50% effective. The vaccination is 95% plus effective. Why do I say plus? Because 95% effective at preventing infection, but even that 5% that gets infected gets a mild or asymptomatic case in nearly all instances. All 3 vaccines are very close to 100% effective in preventing loss of life. What wonderful news, what a triumph of modern science. In several limited settings that can be enforced, we are going to continue to require masks for the next few weeks. Through June 1st, in prisons, in jails, at the DMV, in schools. If you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. But if you're unvaccinated or prefer to retain your privacy about your vaccination status, you'll continue to wear a mask for these next few weeks. We are also extending the public health order around events over 500 people through June 1st, meaning that after June 1st, those events with 500 or more people will no longer need state approval to occur. Until June 1st, doesn't mean events with more than 500 people can't occur. They certainly do, but they need to be in consultation with the local health department and the Colorado Department of Public Health. The pandemic is not yet over, but if you are vaccinated, it is largely over for you. If you are not vaccinated, please take this moment to have the urgency to get vaccinated. A lot of these protections that you've been relying on to keep you safe, if you're unvaccinated, other people wearing masks, protections on large gatherings, those are all going away or being phased out by June 1st. What does that mean? It's more important than ever before that you take the actions you need to protect yourself. Make a plan and get vaccinated. Next question.
This is Erica Meltzer from Chalkbeat. I wanted to clarify what you said about school settings. You said the state is going to continue to require masks in school settings, but you also said unvaccinated teachers and 16 and 17-year-olds can, show their faces for the last. So I just want to clarify.
Sure.
Is it dependent on school district policy or regardless of school district policy?
Yeah. So
I can unmask.
Let me be very.
And I have a follow-up.
Yeah. Let me be very clear. So as you know, school districts clearly set their own policy. We have state requirements. So what is the state requirement? Teachers who are unvaccinated will need to continue wearing masks. Students who are unvaccinated continue wearing masks for the final 2 or 3 weeks of the year. What this new order allows is the flexibility, if a district wants to allow teachers who are fully vaccinated to remove their masks in the final few weeks. It also gives them the flexibility, if they choose to allow 16, 17, 18-year-old students who are fully vaccinated to remove their masks in class for the final few weeks. That decision will be up to districts as to whether to do that. Same with private schools. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. And then if I could just have a quick follow-up, and I think this applies to a lot of businesses as well. We have really consistently heard from school districts of we don't know who's vaccinated because we're not allowed to ask that information. That's their private health information. And so how do you anticipate this working?
Then again, if you're of unknown vaccination status, then you need to continue to wear a mask. It would only be people who can demonstrate that they're vaccinated who would be able to remove that mask in the classroom setting, because obviously there's a lot of parents and students that have a lot at stake at that. And that is somebody's personal decision about whether to reveal that information. But if the teacher chooses to be able to demonstrate that they are vaccinated, then they will no longer need to wear a mask.
Thank you.
Hi there, Governor. Britton with Fox 21 in Colorado Springs. Just wondering if having this mask suggestion is any sort of concern over requiring, like was previously mentioned, requiring it with people's personal health information. Requiring that. Was that a holdup to tying allowing people to not have a mask if they are vaccinated?
A couple of words cut out. Could you please repeat the question one more time?
Just wondering if people's private health information was a holdback to tying vaccination steps to people having a mask or not.
Yes, that's a very, very, very good question. We do not believe that there's any comprehensive way to do that across society. There is no comprehensive way to have a state vaccination passport. It violates people's privacy. There's no practical way to implement it. What we do allow is, again, businesses to set their own policies. And some businesses will continue to require masks, and we should honor that, and you should wear a mask if that's required. Others will not, and say if you're not vaccinated, wear a mask, but it's the honor system. And yes, they certainly can if they want to. I don't think there's a large market for it, but they can say, show us proof of vaccination to enter. Perhaps there's a limited market for that for people who really want to be in a very secure environment with other people that they know for sure are fully vaccinated. In a few limited environments where we're able to know who's there, the vaccination requirements will continue for avoiding mask wearing for the next 2 weeks, meaning jails and prisons and hospitals, some of these tightly controlled environments. The state ones want, a major consumer-facing business in the DMV, as an example of what we're doing. DMV employees who are fully vaccinated will no longer be required to wear masks. If they prefer to keep that information private, or they are not vaccinated, they will continue to wear masks to ensure the confidence of the public, and then customers will be required to wear masks for these next 2 weeks. So a lot of businesses that have consumers will be making these choices about the best way to balance the feeling of safety among their consumers with this new mask wearing guidance. But at the end of the day, if you are vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask. If you are not yet vaccinated, A, wear a mask when you're around other people, but B, and far more importantly, get vaccinated, get protected.
Hello, this is Meg Wingeter from the Denver Post. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. You said that jails and prisons will only require unvaccinated people
Yes.
to wear masks through June 1st. Are all inmates going to be vaccinated first?
Every inmate who wants to be vaccinated has been vaccinated. We certainly hope that more inmates choose to get vaccinated with this new additional reason to get vaccinated, namely that they can finally remove their mask. We have pretty good uptake through our prison system, and we'll be happy to provide that number to you outside of this. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe it was in the 60 to 70% of our inmates range, and we'll be happy to provide that to you.
Thank you.
Governor, for the big events like Avs games, Nuggets games, there's playoffs coming up, what do you expect after June 1st? Do you anticipate they'll be able to go to a full house, or?
Yes. From the state's perspective, absolutely. Local health departments may have some restrictions, but I think at this point, with the level of vaccination that we have, we feel comfortable removing all of the state health guidelines around those very large events June 1st. Until then, the 500 plus falls under the state, but again, they're happening, but they happen in a supervised way through county health. But yes, we're look at this point. At this point, it's really largely become a matter of personal responsibility. If you want the vaccine, you've had it. Maybe there's a few people who want it that are still waiting for their second vaccine and will be immune in a week or two, which is why we're going through June 1st. But by June 1st, if you want to be protected in Colorado, you've had that opportunity to do it. And going forward, we want to continue to encourage people to get protected. And this might serve as an impetus for some, saying, you might have been leaning on these masks and these restrictions on gatherings as a crutch and knowing that the risk was lower because of them. Well, we're ready to return to normal because so many people are vaccinated. So come along with us and get yourself vaccinated to enjoy that level of protection as well. No more questions? Thank you all so much. I will no longer have to wear this when I leave. I'm excited because I never really liked wearing a mask very much. And also, I had a hard time recognizing people that were wearing masks, people that I knew and I would see, and I sometimes didn't know who they were when they were wearing a mask. And so I'm very happy to be fully vaccinated. It's an immense relief to me and my family that we're protected. And I'm excited that many Coloradans have made that choice, and even more will in the coming weeks. And while the pandemic isn't over, as somebody who's vaccinated, for me, it is largely over. And if you're vaccinated, for you, it is largely over. And if you're not vaccinated, please feel the urgency of this moment, the fact that all these additional restrictions are going away June 1st, to take that opportunity to get protected and end the pandemic for yourself and for your family. Thank you.